Hi guys, so today I'd like to just talk about a few methods I've noticed that people sort of in the SJW sort of realm of things have been using to try and make their arguments and their ideas seem legitimate. And and a lot of these things have been used, historically by authoritarian regimes and organizations to sort of pass similar ideas. So first one I'd like to talk about, which I know F.A. Hayek mentions it in The Road to Serfdom, but I've also noticed this a lot, particularly recently, and that is redefining words. So one word that has been redefined recently quite a lot, and probably one of the most dangerous words to redefine, is the R word. So racism used to mean, or it still should mean, if you could stick to the same definition, is discrimination against someone based on their race, right? I think that's what most people still believe it to be. But in order to actually paint people who oppose some ideas as racist, they actually sort of change the definition. So I've heard they mean power plus privilege, or things that are offensive that they disagree with, right? It's kind of a fluid definition, and so they basically tailor it to call anyone who disagrees with them racist. And that's quite worrying for a couple of reasons. So one reason, the most obvious reason, is racism. It's a horrible thing. If you're a racist, that's a contemptible thing to be. And so actually, by changing the definition, call someone racist, even though if you think about it, they're not actually asserting that person is as contemptible as a true racist would be. They're actually a lot of people won't think that, and they'll just say, oh, that person's a racist, that person's a Nazi, so we can we'll treat them like that, even though that what they've actually done doesn't merit them to be treated as a racist, because they've just changed the definition, right? So it can obviously it can cause incitement to violence and things like that, and justification for deplatforming and so on. But what it could also have the effect of is actually cheapening racism, right? So you get so racism doesn't actually become a bad thing, and you can't distinguish between people who don't agree with every social justice doctrine and people who genuinely are racist. So it's it's a really I don't say dangerous, but it's a really silly and logically inconsistent thing to do, change definitions. And the second thing that they do, which is sort of connected to this, is double standards, right? So the protests at the moment, it's perfectly okay to go out, protest, and tens of thousands of people, and be somewhat, well, not everyone, but a lot of people are being violent and stuff, and obviously not adhering to the social distancing that we're all meant to be. And but it's because of what they're doing, they see it as more important than the pandemic, even though that was the most important thing up until about a week ago. And so they say, everyone's kind of thinking, right, so I guess social distancing isn't actually that important. But then when you get opposition protesters going out who, I don't necessarily support whatever, but people are saying now that you should observe social distancing, and so it's if one group can protest, why can't another protest, right? So that's a double standard, and of course that's just the most recent example. I mean, take a look at that, it's with the definition of racism, right? A white person is basically automatically racist, whereas if you're not white, you can never be racist, right? They're saying now. So that's kind of a definition change and a double standard. You can look at it both ways, right? So that's another thing to look out for. And again, these are sort of these are logical fallacies at the end of the day, right? So it's important to detect them when someone's saying them, and speak out against it when you hear these logical fallacies, so that it doesn't keep spreading. And but I guess that leads me on to the third point, which is propaganda, right? It's shoving shoving these things down people's throats. And if you hear it enough, you're gaslighting people, right? So they think, they'll start to believe in a new definition of racism. They'll start to accept double standards as just being the normal thing, right? And I don't really need to talk much more about propaganda, because everyone's really familiar with it, right? So just propaganda in general. There's a stifling of different viewpoints. And the fourth thing I would like to mention is this character assassination, really, ad hominem. It's used quite a lot by people at the moment to actually stop arguments going forward. So, and again, I can sort of link this back to the first point I made, right? Like going around calling people racist. I mean, obviously we've all heard this one before, right? But like calling people racist and stuff rather than actually addressing their arguments. So that's basically it. I think they were sort of like descending order of importance, because I think the first point I made about redefining terms is one of the most dangerous, because you're basically changing the language you're using, right? And it makes it really hard to communicate ideas. So you need to just stick to the traditional definitions, right? Well, not the traditional definitions, but the definitions we all agree on, or else if we are changing definitions of words, we will be effectively speaking different languages, right? And it's just very confusing. So I guess I just want to talk about that. And you're probably familiar with all these things, but I think it's just nice to sort of spell it all out for the record. So that's about it. Hope you're still doing okay-ish during these crazy times, and